Hey, what's up, classic TV fans? My name is Rick9G. Thanks so much for joining me today. We're going to be talking about Home Improvement. It's one of my favorite shows from the 1990s, and I would say one of the best there ever was in terms of sitcoms. I mean, having Tim Allen as the head of the show and Patricia Richardson, I mean, they were fantastic. Can't forget Richard Karn, Pamela Anderson, Debbie Dunning, as well as the three boys. They were fantastic. Now, I think a lot of you who are fans will be very surprised to know that Jill Taylor was fired before she even began any filming on Home Improvement. Now, if you let that sink in, you would think, wait, Jill Taylor was fired from the show? Well, yes, and that means Jill Taylor, the character. Jill Taylor, the character played by a woman named Frances Fisher. Now, we all know, and we have Patricia Richardson as synonymous to Jill Taylor, but many don't know that there was a woman before her, and so that Jill was fired. Why was she fired? Well, I'll talk a little bit about it. I think it's really interesting to know why this happened, and a lot of it has to do with chemistry. Whenever I watched Home Improvement, it was really hard for me to try to say, hey, these two aren't married. Tim Allen and Patricia Richardson are not married, but they really acted so well as a married couple. The chemistry was perfect. I mean, like Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball, they were married in real life, and Ricky Ricardo and Lucy Ricardo were married as well. Not in this case. The actors weren't married, but the characters were. Well, that is, at least to each other. Now, Patricia Richardson said that Tim was so hilarious and that they clicked right away. It was really fast, 5 or 6 days when they did the pilot. That is, when they were doing rehearsals and filming and so forth. Even after the Home Improvement series finale, that is the last episode of Home Improvement, the actress herself said that it was weird watching Tim Allen with other actresses on other TV shows where Tim would pretend that they were husband and wife. She kind of was bothered by it, even though in real life she was married. Are you following me there? But she would say, whenever I see him with other people, I think, well, he was mine first. Now, this video is not at all a hit piece against Frances Fisher. I don't want anyone to interpret it in that way. It's just bringing the reality of what happens in Hollywood with casting. And unfortunately, Frances wasn't great in terms of chemistry with Tim Allen. She couldn't pull off that comedy. Now, on paper, it sounded like it was really good. But unfortunately, when they had that on-screen chemistry and they were doing things like rehearsals and so forth, there was a lot of difficulty there. Now, Fisher was previously an actress with more of a dramatic type role to her resume. I mean, by no means was she a comedic actress, but she was put in this role and it was very difficult, as I mentioned. Now, Richard Karn, who played Tim's long-suffering Al Borland, said the same thing, that writers had to change their mind about Fisher only 3 days into rehearsals. Now, after they did the pilot, and audiences didn't really like it, the team scrambled to replace Fisher with someone else. Now, they did say that she was a great actress, but in the role with Tim, she came off as more of a victim than his equal. And that is so important because part of the magic of Home Improvement was Tim being able to quote-unquote attack his wife Jill on the show, and then Jill took it with stride and almost overpowered him, not defeating Tim, but kind of conquering his attack, if that makes sense. But in the end, they kiss and they make up, and it's not a bickering, but it's a playful bickering. It's almost like that tension between husband and wife. That's a good tension, that is a physical tension, and it just didn't happen before with Frances Fisher. Now, you may think it was really simple to actually get Patricia Richardson, but that's not true. It was really difficult to convince her. Why? Well, she had just given birth in real life to twins and already had a 6-year-old as well. And she was married to another man who was not on Home Improvement. And she was supposed to go back to work on a different show for the network in 9 months' time. That is after her maternity leave. Now, when Richardson got the call from Home Improvement. She resisted. She didn't want to be on the show. She said she never heard of Tim and she didn't know anything about it, and she didn't really care, to be honest with you. Now, Richardson told the network that they would have to wait for her to, quote unquote, breastfeed her twins during filming, and they agreed. They didn't care. They wanted her. They were going to bend over backwards for this one because they thought she was perfect after seeing a little bit of her work on the show Roseanne. Now, who convinced Richardson? Well, her husband at the time. His name is Ray Baker, who immediately saw the potential in being on this show, this new sitcom, Home Improvement. Now, he told her that this is the show you're going to do for 7 years. Now, he didn't know that. He couldn't see into the future, but he had a feeling, and he relayed that to his then wife. In fact, Home Improvement turned out to have 8 seasons, so he was correct. The show was going to last a long time, and it did become a steady job for her. In fact, Patricia and Tim Allen turned down millions of dollars. Yes, multiple millions of dollars to star in another season of Home Improvement, and they both said no. They wanted to go out while the ratings were fairly good, and they were just happy and all together. They didn't want the show to go downhill before they decided to stop it. They wanted to leave on a good note with good writing and a kind of a finality to the story. So what do you think about this? Do you think they should have kept Frances Fisher, maybe kind of worked with her and get her to practice a little more, maybe get the chemistry just right? Maybe 3 days wasn't enough? Or did they make a right choice to essentially fire her and bring someone in new, Patricia Richardson? She kind of came when the ball was rolling. She kind of came really fast, but she got really into it and did really well according to a lot of people. I mean, the show lasted 8 years. Most shows don't last past 4. It will definitely be included in one of the best shows of all time. I want to know your thoughts down below. I always love reading them. Thank you so much for your support as always. And don't forget, everyone, be hopeful. Thank you to everyone who supports me, especially my Diamond tier patrons. Vito L, David D, Sally N, Ricky, Citizen Kane 359, Kevin K, Greg S. Thank you as well to my new Gold tier patrons, Jennifer P and Scott F. To be listed here, check out the links below for my Patreon.